I think we're definitely getting the most
but we're gonna
iconic
get more.
zone type. Like, I think we're gonna get a saber-toothed tiger. I think we're gonna get probably
That'd be dope.
Like, there's no way we don't get a T-Rex, right? That's gonna happen no matter what. I think.
I don't know. It's so similar to an Allosaurus.
But then why would he go with the Allosaurus? Because if you're going with one, you would go with the T-Rex, right?
Maybe he's a dinosaur supremacist and he just believes that Allosaurus is better in some way because he's insane.
Perfect. Then, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Wano Report on the new channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe to our new channel here. And today, for the second episode on this new channel that I just mentioned 3 times, we have a wonderful guest. I'm very, very happy that he found the time to join us here. And I think we are, if I understood that correctly, almost, have the privilege of being one of the first people to present him outside his own channel. So I'm feeling honored for having that chance. It's GrandLineReview. How's it going?
It's going
Thank you very much for joining us.
Very well. Yes, you are the first person to present me other than me. So congratulations? ?
Yes.
It's an honor to be
here. Exclamation mark for sure. And of course, as always, I have with me Mr. Morj. How you doing? Early in the morning.
I'm doing okay. Yeah, for the people who don't know, we're dealing with a lot of different time zones here. We're dealing with a normal American time zone, and then
normal
Ohara's German time, and then GrandLineReview, who's Australian time. So it's pretty early for me.
Yeah,
maybe not for
a mixture
other people,
of
but
morning,
at least for
noon,
me, it's
and
early.
night here.
100%. Well, this was definitely an adventure setting up, but I'm happy that we managed to do this, and I'm definitely excited to talk about One Piece with you two. Especially we don't have a new chapter this weekend, or it's actually under the week already. But I think this might also be a great chance, to GrandLine to get you out there and just get a general taste on your approach to One Piece and what you value on the series in general. Maybe since this is your first time outside of your channel, I guess. Do you want to give us a quick introduction about what it is you do on your channel?
Yeah, hi, I'm GrandLineReview. My name is Liam, and I do something revolutionary, which is that I make One Piece videos on YouTube, and that's pretty cool.
Why didn't I think of that?
I know, it was a brilliant niche idea. That's probably the best way to describe it, because I make videos about essentially anything. Like, I do all the sort of basic stuff like chapter reviews, I used to do episode reviews, but I basically just think of something I want to talk about in regards to One Piece, and then I waffle on for roughly 10 minutes, and then the video ends.
GrandLineReview is underplaying himself. He's one of the few One Piece YouTubers who has over 100,000 subs on YouTube. Definitely one of the biggest YouTubers out there. So I guess you waffling on for 10 minutes has built up a pretty big YouTube following. So I mean, that's not something that like many people who are doing this stuff can say.
I guess, yeah. A lot of people do seem to like my ramblings. I think my main weapon is consistency, though. Whether you like it or not, there will be 4 GrandLineReview videos a week. So get used to it.
Yeah, so you guys
which we
heard
already...
that. You guys should head over and subscribe if you want your regular
100%.
4 videos a week, as he's committed to putting out.
Advertising. We're holding you to that, definitely. But yeah, the links are definitely in the description below. I think the people can also find you on Twitter.
They can.
Where should they go?
Twitter.com/GrandLineReview. I think that's how Twitter works. You'll find me just typing GrandLineReview. It's fine.
I'll definitely... everything, as usual, is obviously in the description below. One last shameless plug I have to make at this point is that I now have a Discord server. So if you're interested in joining that, I'll also leave the link to that in the description below. Otherwise, I would say let's jump right into some One Piece content. One last thing that I almost forgot. As you might see, we have a beautiful thumbnail for this new episode, and it's by a very talented artist that hopefully and potentially will be working with us in the future on this podcast, Freyr's Art. You can also find her on Twitter. Definitely give her some love. She does some amazing artwork for One Piece, but for a lot of other things as well. And recently she's done a series on illustrating One Piece YouTubers based on the Devil Fruit quiz they took. So I'm very happy with mine, even though I was not so happy with my fruit pick. But yeah, what came out at the end, I was blown away. So thank you to her. Definitely head over and give her a follow or something. Okay, now that we have gotten all the housekeeping out of the way, I would say, let's jump right into it.
Wait, question, have we abandoned Audible?
Yeah, we kind of have abandoned Audible for the reason that I can't access the creator account there anymore for some reason. It just says the site does not exist anymore.
All right. Guys, there's no need to go to Audible anymore. You guys can leave that alone.
But nonetheless, if someone out there is interested in sponsoring this podcast, we are willing to talk to you for sure.
Anyone.
But yeah. So I'm maybe if you Liam, sorry, I think I mispronounced that now. Is it Liam?
Liam is fine. Just start with an L and end with an M, and it's fine.
Okay. So I'm just gonna keep slaughtering it one way or the other. What's your general take maybe on the Wano arc so far? Is that something you like compared to previous arcs you dislike? What's special about it for you?
Oh, that's a big question. What is special about Wano? It's kind of a mixture of both. It depends what kind of previous arc you're comparing it to. I think in terms of the general One Piece mega arcs, Wano is probably the finest piece of storytelling we've seen. I really like how it's been broken up into the act structure, because that's provided a much needed relief from all the fatigue that would happen, say during Dressrosa and Whole Cake Island. So it's kind of really weird to look back on Wano and think that it's almost as long as Whole Cake Island now, but it really doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
So it's favorable.
Right now we're still pretty much we're not even at the meat of the Wano arc, I'd say, or we're just about to start it pretty much. Whereas, yeah, you're right, Whole Cake Island, we were basically towards the chase point at this point in the story.
We were about 8 chapters away from ending Whole Cake Island at this point, I think.
Never mind, that's way further than I thought.
Wow. Whole Cake Island really, as you said, that felt forever. So actually hearing that comparison right now kind of is a bit shocking. I gotta be honest. Yeah, as you said, it doesn't... I mean, Wano has been going on for some time, but it definitely doesn't feel that long.
Yeah, I mean, partly because it's so many small little storylines and small little character storylines that Oda's having to move forward bit by bit, whereas with Whole Cake, it's a much smaller cast, much tighter story, so it feels like it's, at least right now, basically, everything is moving a little slower, because you've got to move this gigantic beast of a story, pretty much. Like, it's a much bigger machine that's having to turn, like, a wheel forward and then another wheel forward.
Though, to be fair, we had to meet, like... It felt like 200 children of Big Moms over the course of the arc. But yeah, in general, something that we discuss heavily and often on this podcast is Morj's theory is, which I at this point subscribe to, is that this battle will not be the final battle, but that it'd rather be, a negative, another negative low point for the Alliance, where they basically will be beaten, and then there will be a bigger, larger conflict in the aftermath of Onigashima, where other parties might flow into Wano, be it the Marines, be it the Whitebeard pirates, so on and so forth. What's your take on that? Do you feel like we're just getting into the last battle or the decisive battle of Wano, or do you feel this is also rather like a middle point?
Yes, no, and yes and no.
I don't know the order of the questions.
I do feel like I definitely subscribe to more just thinking there, and that this is nowhere near the climax of the arc. Like, we are still very much setting up pieces like Kaito's son and everything. Mm-hmm. There is a lot to be put into place before a final battle happens. And at this point, I don't see how it happens. Like, from the invasion onwards, I do not see how we overcome both Kaito and Big Mom. So I have to believe that there's something more to this.
And one thing that's big, just based on recent events, that if you're looking back at past One Piece arcs, I would say Whole Cake Island's an exception to this generally, but usually, so right now we're at the point where Oda's making a big show of introducing basically all of Kaito's players, basically the rundown of the villains roster. And usually, like if you go through Baroque Works or Skypiea, Dressrosa, Enies Lobby and such, I think usually that stuff happens much earlier than when the final battles really start to happen. I think Whole Cake Island was the exception. We did get Katakuri and such at the very tail end of the arc. Actually, it's very surprising now to think how late we got Katakuri, considering how big of a player he was in that arc. But yeah, I think Oda usually does like to give us a picture of who's going to be the bad guys of the arc, basically at like somewhere around the middle. Yeah, I'd say the midpoint of the arc before, like solidly before the final fights actually start to happen. So I'd be very surprised to see basically we get the Tobbi Roppo, and then like 10 chapters down the line we're fighting the Tobbi Roppo. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I agree completely, pretty much because, you do need to set up your characters before you have them, punch and kick each other. And even in regards to Katakuri, he was introduced pretty late, but it was like 30 or so chapters before Whole Cake ended, so he did have time to develop it. You're right, Whole Cake Island is definitely the exception, because even then we were still getting characters like Flampe popping up out of nowhere, and that's right. Not the typical structure.
Well, I would feel with Whole Cake Island the exception was that Oda deliberately, like obviously already knew that the Big Mom Pirates would at some point swap over to Wano. So I feel a lot of this, like Whole Cake Island, while it was definitely a long and cohesive arc, in a way it was also still part of the setup for Wano. Especially since a lot of character arcs, are still open from Whole Cake Island. So they kind of carried over, I feel, like were put on pause, and like I feel we're going to get some continuation, possibly in the next chapters now that the Big Mom Pirates are going to play a bigger role. So I guess that might have been the thought process that Oda went for.
Yeah, he's constructing a bigger saga, and Whole Cake Island was just a part in that.
Exactly, that kind of, started pretty much with Fishman Island, if we want.
Yes.
At that point, the Yonko saga. Yeah, 100%. One thing, maybe to get that quickly out of the way, do you think there will be a wedding between the Kaito and between the Beast Pirates and the Big Mom Pirates?
I've seen that idea floating around. I hope not, because we've already done the wedding concept in One Piece, and I don't necessarily want to go back to it. But I don't know. An alliance somehow, a wedding makes sense, although I wouldn't trust Big Mom's wedding intentions.
Yeah, though it's her thing, right, to finish or to basically set alliances in stone, no?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends who's getting married. Like, she needs to be getting something out of it. Like, if it's King getting married and coming into the Charlotte family, which is...
I mean, I think... So, unfortunately, if I was a betting man, I am a betting man, I guess. But I would guess that it would be Yamato, just based on Kaito's insistence that we're going to need Yamato for this whole event. Although I guess that could just be for appearances. I want my son here. But yeah, if it's ending with a big announcement...
Announcement, I think, the announcement is, connected to Yamato. So.
Yeah, so I mean, I would guess it's a wedding. I agree. I think that I wouldn't be the biggest fan of having a wedding plotline like that again. And I think part of it is also just because, maybe if I had heard it in the chapter itself, like, I think it's like a little different when you hear it from a fan online or something, like, or somebody's prediction. And then it's like, well, I hope it's something more surprising than that. But I think if nobody had mentioned it to me and then we got to the end of, 3 chapters down the line, whenever this announcement's happening, and then they're like, Yamato's marrying, whatever, then maybe I would have liked it if it's like a surprise. But I think that's, and we've talked about this a little bit before. That's part of the curse of being part of like a broader community, because then like you get ideas that, like, I don't know, would I have guessed at some point that, oh, maybe it's a wedding announcement over the course of like the next month or so? I don't know.
It's one of these things, I feel, as you said. Once it's pointed out, it seems to be quite obvious.
Yeah, pretty much. But like, I didn't think that when he mentioned that,
No, 100%. Yeah. It was literally my, I don't know how it was like for you, since you, because you also do chapter reviews. But for me, like I did not think of that, but my comment section was literally flooded with this idea, and I was like, yeah, well, this kind of would make sense. This would be a Big Mom's thing, and it would also explain, I guess, why Yamato is gone and does not feel like reappearing for the moment.
Yeah, I can tell you that my comment section were also flooded with those and many more ideas. Personally, that thought never came into my head. I think that's how English works. And I'm still not a huge fan of it, and I don't think it's obvious. I think this is one of those ideas that's just caught fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
I mean, I'm curious. We'll see.
How do you feel?
Do you, in general?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go. No, you go.
You go. All right. I'm going to go ahead. How do you feel about Wano in general compared to... I know, like you said, basically, it's, at least compared to Dressrosa, Whole Cake Island, it's much more, I guess, neatly structured storytelling right now. In general, would you say that this has become your favorite post-time skip arc of One Piece, or becoming one of your favorite arcs in One Piece? Because...
I'm not so sure about that. I think it's difficult to look at it right now because I'm always examining Wano from a very micro perspective. It's difficult to take a step back and look at the entire arc when we may very well be halfway through. I think it's definitely one of the more interesting experiences I've had with One Piece because there's been a lot of the general world just colliding in Wano, and I'd like to see the payoff before I was to make a call like that. Because Wano has had some big detriments, I would say. I would say a lot of Act 2 had me questioning what I was doing with my life, making chapter reviews weekly.
How do you feel about the amnesia then, for example?
Oh my god, the amnesia. So I was actually really on board with the amnesia idea. There was many a hater in my comment section, and I think they were proved kind of right. I was hoping that it would become a bigger thing and that would lead to Big Mom helping out the Alliance a bit more and standing a chance against Kaito somewhat, I guess. And just getting to explore that other side of Charlotte Linlin, which we see so rarely. But then, she got hit with a dinosaur and now she's back to normal.
I'm going to be honest, I still haven't completely abandoned that hope because, when it happened, like same as you, I also felt like I'm kind of, I'm on board with this. I'm like, I can see, Big Mom being, the Straw Hats treat her nicely and, she gets her memories back and has had these experiences. And it's kind of what happened. So I'm still not 100%. Like, so this is another thing. I personally am not seeing this alliance really taking place. Luffy, no matter how strong the alliance, and no matter how strong Luffy, I don't see them taking down two Yonko who are actually working together. So I still feel this alliance between Kaito and Big Mom, there's still some sort of, I'm not sure. Like, I don't see it taking place as a complete alliance because I feel that would be impossible to handle. So I kind of have still not, lost hope that Big Mom actually remembers Chopper being nice. And, I feel there has to be an answer or a climax or a catharsis, if you want so, for the entire amnesia, Big Mom's memories, childhood, Brulee, and Mother Caramel storyline. I still hope that's happening.
I think so too, particularly with amnesia, because it is such a really difficult narrative device to pull off, and I don't think Oda has done it successfully, although I can only think of two examples, Sabo and Big Mom, both of whom have kind of been a bit shit, I guess, so I would hope that there's a bit more to Big Mom. I have faith, sure.
There's still hope.
I think I'm just not of that, mentality I get, because in my mind I think, and I've talked about this with Ohara, obviously, but I do think that basically I would think that Oda kind of just threw that in. I'm not holding out hope for that basically being some sort of important development for Big Mom's character down the line still. But I'm also of the mentality that I really hope that, they, by the end of the arc, they do manage to take down a Yonko alliance kind of straight. So I would personally just rather not that it be something like Big Mom turning good or something along those lines. I would definitely be interested if something is done more to flesh out her character and kind of add a new dimension to it or some sort of realization. But I'm not a fan of the idea of her turning good or becoming an ally necessarily. So I don't really know.
Maybe
it's tricky.
Maybe not so much an ally, but what about like a third party? And it becomes a big three-way clash.
I could see that.
No, that's how I expected it to go, actually, which is again why the alliance thing between Big Mom and Kaito was not necessarily something I thought was a bad idea at all. I was actually really surprised, Queen being able to, capture the unconscious Big Mom, and then that twist where they actually formed the alliance. I think that was really great. That was definitely not something I was expecting. I saw Big Mom as a third party factor through the entire arc, basically, when she was first reintroduced into the arc. So yeah, I'm curious where this is all going. 100%.
I mean, it made a lot of sense in retrospect, although it was like a huge shock at the moment that it happened. But like so much of this story, like going all the way back through Punk Hazard, really, like this has been the Pirate Alliance storyline, and like they've been stressing, alliance, basically since Punk Hazard, through Zoe, through Wano and everything like that. So just, it makes sense that Oda, like obviously like the perfect opponent for this sort of a setup is basically another alliance. Like it fits with how he likes to kind of set things up to like be a little symmetry on both sides, I guess.
He also likes to break alliances though.
Oh yeah, we saw that with Whole Cake Island, of course. I definitely think that basically there is going to be a lot that goes on between Big Mom and Kaito's alliance that showcases why like loyalty among your comrades or whatever on the good guys' side is so important, etc., etc. Because we've gotten so many warnings. I mean, like with Law early on and stuff like that about how pirate alliances, what they really mean is usually they involve this backstabbing or that treachery and stuff like that. So I think we are going to see a lot of like how the Straw Hat side, probably what helps them succeed is that they don't resort to that sort of a thing. Whereas I do agree with you guys that there is going to be some sort of not so friendly interactions between Kaito and Big Mom down the line, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. Maybe as a notch to our thumbnail also, but also because I'm genuinely interested in it. Let's maybe move over to the second quote unquote villain of this arc, Orochi. What's your general impression so far? Because we've seen a lot of different sides of Orochi up to this point, I feel.
Yeah, Orochi is Orochi. He's definitely not what I was hoping him to be as like a big bad antagonist of Wano. He just kind of gives me the Spandam vibes. And so I'm just sort of plodding along with him. I did really enjoy seeing his story in Odin's flashback though. I think that gave me a nice new side to Orochi that I was really missing from the present timeline stuff, but I still don't know where to go with him. He's kind of a dick, and that's about it.
I think I'm still one of the few. I don't know if I'm one of the few. Maybe there are dozens of us. I don't know. But I still think Orochi has potential to be secretly a strong opponent, and it's really, really hard to see how that's logical or plausible because nothing we saw in his flashback and nothing that we've seen of him so far really gives evidence towards him being a strong opponent. But I do feel like this is one of the first times, and this is coming at it, I think, more so from, I guess, the Zoro angle, because to me, this seems like one of the few times in the story ever that I've seen like Oda kind of setting up any sort of like prior like Zoro early in the arc having somebody that he wants to defeat down the line and kind of building like antagonistic relationship early on, because usually you only see that with Luffy, right? Like usually Luffy and the main villain, they're gonna have their interactions, and then for the rest of the crew, they're gonna fight who they fight based on whoever Oda gives to them at the end of the story. But this is basically the only time that I can think of that Oda's kind of had Zoro want to beat somebody from very early on in the arc. So to me, it's hard to, unless that's just going to be like a weak opponent that one maybe doesn't go to Zoro, or two, maybe Zoro's main fight is King, and then Orochi is just like someone that he, I don't know, executes or something like that down the line. But to me, it would be odd if Oda set up this sort of dynamic with Zoro and a major villain in the arc, technically the third biggest villain in the arc, and then it doesn't end up going anywhere. So my hope is that there's something that we're missing or something big that Oda hasn't revealed with Orochi that would make him much more than he seems so far. Because so far he seems like very little. And sorry if you guys hear my dog barking. I am at my parents' house today.
Oh, that's fine.
That's all right. I love dogs.
Same.
I love that you have
sleeping.
So much hope for Orochi and so little hope for Big Mom. It's a very nice contrast.
I don't know. I think, you know what's interesting about Orochi? Like, I was no fan at all before the time, not the time skip, but the flashback. But I feel the characterization we got during the flashback for Orochi really turned the character around for me, or at least was the beginning of a turnaround. So I feel he does obviously have this fandom, like, you know, mix of like quirky comedicness and also, you know, this like cowardice. But at the same time, I feel the flashback showed that, you know, he also has this anger in him. He has this scheming nature in him, you know. There is this kind of weird vibe around him where we're not sure if this man can actually fight or not. Like, he has this very powerful, very rare devil fruit. Basically, people were so excited, you know, to see more mythical zoans in Wano. And he's one of the, pretty much except Kaito, he's the only one who's got one so far. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the train that I do believe Orochi will turn out to be a great villain in the end. But yeah, I'm on a positive slope, but I can't really make a strong argument for it, I guess, right now. But it's getting better. Can. Yeah, and I feel the same goes for Kaito, by the way, who I also think got, like, Oda really held back for the longest time giving him any characterization. And during the flashback, it was the first time that we see, okay, well, Kaito is not just, you know, this big oaf with this big club who's kind of like unbeatable and he's just smashing things when he doesn't drink. I feel like the flashback started to show us that, no, this is actually, you know, this is a guy who has certain values, who values bravery, you know, and so on and so forth, who has respect for Odin, who you know, kills the old hag for tricking his enemies and so on and so forth. He's actually vulnerable. And now we find out he has a son, which was, for me at least, a complete, like, that was a curveball I did not see coming at all.
Yeah, completely. I mean, and if it was a son, I would have thought it would be one of Big Mom's children, just because who else would do such a thing with Kaito? But I guess we'll see.
I don't know if they get a choice if it's with Kaito, but I mean, same with Big Mom. I don't know how much choice they give these people.
Her husband seemed to be fairly willing.
Probably not too much. Much.
I think Kanjuro is the last major sort of villain that's popped up recently that I think I don't know, I kind of want to get you guys' opinions on. Ohara, I think we've talked a little bit about Kanjuro. Liam, how did you feel about that whole reveal? And what do you think about Kanjuro going forward?
I love that reveal. I feel like a fool for not having subscribed to the Kanjuro trader train of thought earlier. And yeah, I just think it's perfect that an actor was acting, and I love that he's not a useless artist, that he is actually a very formidable foe, through the sheer power of art.
I think his Devil Fruit is definitely the one that I'm most interested in seeing more of right now, basically. Because, I mean, part of, like, it's cool that Oda made a whole crew that's, you know, following along this theme of the Beast Pirates and everything like that, but, like, that does make for a bit narrower range of powers for sure. Like, no matter what, we're getting basically some form or the other of an animal or a dinosaur from everything we've seen so far. So Kanjuro's like the one really interesting Devil Fruit ability that we've got this arc. I think that's one of the few things that I really liked the Big Mom Pirates much more for than the Beast Pirates, which was that, you know, a lot of it was food-based, but she did have like a very wide variety of interesting Devil Fruit abilities inside of her crew, like Montior, Brulee, Pudding, stuff like that. Like, I think that was one of the coolest Devil Fruit assemblies there. And then, you know, with the Beast Pirates, it was feeling like a little dry. But now we've got Kanjuro. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him, hopefully versus the Scabbards or something like that. It's really hard to tell where his direction goes.
Yeah, just pick...
Well,
after you.
Sorry,
no, after you.
Oh well, for me, in general, I do have still a very high expectation for Wano becoming more centered around zone type devil fruits in general. I felt when we were entering this arc, I had this feeling we went from very interesting, a very interesting look at paramecia fruits. We're going towards, zone fruits. And I still have the expectation, especially since we're still before the big fights, right, in the arc, that I still feel this arc Oda wants to show us, okay, no, these fruits are more than just, becoming a dinosaur and then you stomp things and bite things. So I personally am still waiting for that moment, like for the fights to actually kick off and Oda going like, no, this is what they actually are capable of. Or, the same thing with like Chopper's Rumble Balls. I would be mad if we don't see anyone else but Chopper, eating a Rumble Ball in this arc.
That's a good point about the Rumble Balls. Like that definitely like has a lot of potential to add some pretty nutty variety to any zone user, I guess, basically. So I don't know. It's not confirmed. Like he's probably the only. No. It makes sense, right? Like if the Rumble Balls work for Chopper, then pretty much any zone user that uses it. I don't know the science behind it. I'm sure Oda will go into it, hopefully, over the course of this arc. But I don't know, man. I don't know because we've seen like strong zone users and stuff like that. Like and so far in the series, there hasn't been anything yet to indicate to me, at least, that like zone users besides Chopper have some more nuances to their abilities. They might. Hopefully we do get to see that. And we know that awakened zones are a thing, but at least from what we've seen, awakened zones are also kind of like, they're just more, like, it's just like another strong physical form of fighting, basically, for a zone user. So hopefully we do get to see more. If we don't, then, like, the simple problem, like, it's kind of the problem, like, when there's many of them, it becomes less interesting. Like, when X Drake first revealed that he had a dinosaur ability, that was really cool. But when you see X Drake lined up next to Page 1, lined up next to, let's say, whoever the T-Rex user is, to me, there's not going to be that much difference between, like, an Allosaurus, a Spinosaurus, and a Tyrannosaurus in terms of, like...
Especially when they all have the same name, because they're all the Ryu no Mi model something, or Dragon Fruit model something in English.
You just triggering the entire dinosaur community.
Sorry. Someone's popping into the comments like, well, actually,
like,
the Stegosaurus
actually
and the...
How dare you?
I'm looking at it now, and we have 4 Ryu no Mis. We've got the Allosaurus, the Brachiosaurus, the Spinosaurus, and the Pteranodon. Like, it's a lot.
Wait, is Kaito, isn't Kaito also Ryu?
Oh, yeah.
It's like basically dragon,
He
right?
actually hasn't had his devil fruit revealed, so maybe.
Oh, yeah,
Orochi did. Orochi was also... I'm pretty sure
Orochi was
also...
snake,
No, Orochi
I
was...
think.
No, I think that was a snake
fruit,
fruit, right?
Yeah,
that
heavy,
was really
heavy
weird
no
to
Mi.
me at the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's the mythical beast that he's eaten. It's the Hibino Orochi, so that's literally a snake. Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, with mythical zones, in retrospect, it makes sense because I went back and I saw that bit of dialogue from Kizaru during the war, basically saying that, mythical zones, those are even rarer than Logia. So in retrospect, it does make sense that, Kaito's crew, even though it is the zone crew, basically, it's not just going to be a multiple mythical zones running around, because that's like, how rare was it that the Marines had 3 Logia types as their admirals? Like, that alone seemed really, really rare. So if mythical zones are rarer than that, then yeah, it makes sense. You wouldn't expect, I guess, all of the calamities to be walking around with mythical zones. That would be, I guess, kind of ridiculous. But yeah, that does put... Yeah, it's cool seeing a lot of these ancient zone abilities, but when you see so many of them clumped together, it does take away, I think, a bit of their uniqueness. So... I don't know.
Yes.
I do hope that Oda is able to flesh out their fighting styles a little more differently as we go on.
Yeah. And I hope they're not all ancient zoans either, like we do, branch back into the wider animal kingdom.
You mean like insects and stuff like that?
Not necessarily insects. I'm not a fan of the insect zoans, but I think there's a lot more you can focus on than, dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah. Well, is there something you especially, like, you hope in particular you want to see?
Something that is not a dinosaur, I would say.
So like,
anything
like a
at this
lion
point.
type fruit, basically.
Yes, I would. Oh my god, I would love to see a lion zoan. How amazing would that be?
No, I mean, that would be, like, I think ever since we got Cheetah and everything like that back in Enies Lobby, it was like, okay, so who's got the lion, who's got the this and stuff. That got replaced a little bit once X Drake showed up, because then it was like, oh, fuck lions. What about, like,
what about dinosaurs?
Yeah, what about this stuff? And then once Marco came in, it was like, all right, lions is like taking way tremendous backseat in terms of the priority of zones that I want to see. But yeah, you're right. Now that we've seen so many of them, it would be really cool to see, you know, like something more impressive than Hold'em, for example, as a legitimate lion zone user.
Is such a thing even possible? More impressive than Hold'em?
Okay, I misspoke.
It's very harsh.
Someone who can come
That is very
close.
harsh. But yeah, I mean, like, I 100% agree. And actually, to be fair, I'm not a big fan of like insects in general. Like, I'm neutral to insects in real life. But I do believe they might make great.
That was just a funny thing. I don't know. I'm neutral to insects in real life. But okay.
All right. You can quote me with that. But yeah, no, I think it would be really cool to see them as zone devil fruits, to be honest. Because I remember when the Flying Six were revealed, I looked up some of their names. Like, I just typed them into my Japanese dictionary and see what came out. And for Sasaki, it was actually like what came out was purple emperor butterfly. And I thought like,
it's pretty.
Like, you know, but it sounds actually, you know, if that guy's actually strong and like you make a butterfly zone that's actually dope in some way. Like, it seems so unfitting, but I like in my mind it actually might end up looking cool in some weird way. I don't know. I wouldn't be mad about that.
No,
Sasaki of all people.
Yeah, exactly.
No, definitely. If like Oda gets I guess kind of out there with, I guess, the animal types that he picks. Like, if they're not just all straight dinosaurs for the Tobbi Roppo or something like that, then like something like an emperor butterfly, that is like a very different type of fight matchup than, you know, like Allosaurus, Spinosaurus, etc. But then on the other hand, like, you know, when the Flying Six did first come out, I was just trying to think of like, okay, what are cool dinosaurs that he would do for some of these if they're all dinosaurs? And there are still like a lot of really interesting options. Like, okay, my theory that's not really based on anything, just based on appearance or whatever, is that Ulti, or is it Urti? Ulti? Yeah, Ulti. I'm calling her right now as my pick for Velociraptor, which I think would be like a really cool Devil Fruit ability. I don't know, it's just, I guess, a different vibe for zones, I guess, than the usual, or ancient zones than the usual, like, big mammoth, T-Rex types that we've been seeing so far. But, I don't know, stuff like a Velociraptor, I think that would be, like, a really cool ability. We do already have Pterodactyl and stuff like that, but there's, like...
We don't have a pterodactyl, we have a pteranodon.
That's true, and I didn't know what the difference was. I had to go look that up.
There you go.
Neither did
the
I
dinosaur
until I wrote that
again.
chapter review.
But yeah, no, it's true. And I do agree with you, Liam, that I also believe I would be kind of disappointed if all of the Flying Six were just dinosaur fruit or ancient types. Because as you said, there is a lot, you know, a big variety of fruits that's still to be explored. And, you know, I think Oda called the Beast Pirates and not the Dinosaur Pirates for a reason, hopefully.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, I think there's also kind of a hierarchy on, like, you know, Kaito's got the mythical zone, so he's up top, and then the Calamities, they're all three ancient zones. So, and then, like, once you get towards the bottom of the barrel, then you've got these weird fake gifter type, not real zone users and stuff. So, I don't know, I do think that Oda tends to, at least among the zones, there does seem to be like a hierarchy of like coolness or importance in his mind, I guess.
A natural order, if you will.
Sorry?
A natural order, if you will.
Oh, that's true. Basically a food chain.
As an Australian, that is definitely something you would be.
That's right.
You would be.
I am the equivalent of the Kaito of my country.
Yeah, you're you are basically, Australia would be the dreamer for the Beast Pirates.
Exactly.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm really on board with your Emperor Butterfly idea the more I think about it. And I'm going to be incredibly disappointed if it doesn't happen. So that's on you.
I'm happy to hear that because I would be too.
Okay.
But yeah.
The chapter Sasaki's abilities revealed I see on Twitter. You guys have both dropped One Piece.
Yeah. I think I've seen a bunch of people who are like, he's probably a Triceratops, and I'd be like, do we need one? I'm like, It's like
Triceratops.
I don't think we need more dinosaurs.
I think we're definitely getting the most
but we're gonna get more.
Zone type. Like I think we're gonna get a saber-toothed tiger. I think we're gonna get probably
that'd be dope.
Like there's no way we don't get a T-Rex, right? That's gonna happen no matter what. I think.
I don't know. It's so similar to an Allosaurus.
But then why would he go with the Allosaurus? Because if you're going with one, you would go with the T-Rex, right?
Maybe he's a dinosaur supremacist and he just believes that Allosaurus is better in some way because he's insane.
Dinosaur supremacist.
So Oda saw Jurassic Park as a child and was just so furious that he was like, one day I'm going to write a manga. I'm going to right these wrongs.
They didn't even live in the same
Everyone
period.
will know the greatness of the Allosaurus, even though it was smaller and had less fingers.
But the beauty, the beauty that lies within. Yeah.
And I'm going to call him X-Drake so people will think it's a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but no, it'll be an Allosaurus.
Is there anything else you guys want to talk about the arc or the recent chapters? Because otherwise, I think we have a ton of questions we can actually get into.
Yeah, I'd like to get into questions.
Sure.
And maybe we can actually manage to do more than 2 this time.
I'm sure we can do more than 2.
Maybe like 3 or something.
We can do questions.
Let's see what we got. Okay, we got definitely enough to be going with. Let's see what we got. What? First question I see. What are your guys' opinions about Dragon Ball?
Oh, yeah. I kind of want to answer that. What do you guys think? We can answer that real quick.
Okay, I haven't seen Dragon Ball. I'm gonna out myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you'd been watching Dragon Ball like a little bit or trying to catch up to it.
Okay, yeah, I gave it a try and I kind of,
Okay, that's like, fair. That's Ohara's opinion.
I failed like 5 episodes in.
Can I ask how old you are?
24 at this point.
Okay, so you may have actually missed the Dragon Ball phase because I'm an old man. I'm 30 years old and I grew up on Dragon Ball Z, GT, and I have this innate, untouchable nostalgia for it. However, objectively, if I look back on it, it's not that good. But I love it.
I think it's one of these things. It's similar to like Pokemon. This is like what I grew up with mostly. Like that was the games and like watching the anime and stuff like that. This was like the first contact I had with anime in a lot of ways. And looking back at it now, it's like terrible. But as a kid, so I know what you mean. That ruled 100%. So
it was a product of its time.
Like I'm 20. I'm the same age as Ohara now. I'm 24 also.
Oh, no, it's my dog.
And like, I think
children.
Maybe it just didn't come on in Germany as much, or maybe you just didn't like tune in. But there was, I remember that it was the weirdest thing because like Dragon Ball as a kid, like there was nothing else like it on TV because I didn't see other anime at that time, right? It's hard to describe how just crazy different Dragon Ball was from anything else like in Western TV, like Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, Cartoon Network and stuff. And then you have Dragon Ball, which is just so drastically different and so much more intense. And like, it makes no sense. The episodes take so long. The fighting is so much crazier than anything else you see. It's just like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's just like it's coming from another world, which it pretty much is. But it stands out so distinctly from everything else that you watch at that time. It's like, this is just the coolest show ever, basically. And I wasn't like as big of a Dragon Ball nut as some people growing up, but like I still have that memory of it, and I still give respect to it as the series that inspired a lot of these other series. So,
I think the big thing for me with Dragon Ball, thinking about it in that context you've given, is that it was one of the only shows that like a 12-year-old me could watch that actually had a continuing story. that wasn't just like an episode of the day sort of thing.
That's
so
true.
it got an entire generation legitimately invested in anime. And so I do think that was a big part of it.
No, yeah. And I mean, for me, like, I started watching anime and like reading manga relatively late in my life. I'd say like around 16, 17, 18, something in that regard. So since then, I've definitely become aware of the, job Dragon Ball did with introducing anime and manga, to the West, basically. And I do believe, if you grow up with it, I can easily see the fascination people have with it or the hype people have around it. But yeah, so I'm grateful that it exists, and I do understand why people would fall in love with it. But I guess at this age, I just didn't manage to get into it.
No, I mean, that's totally understandable. If you were to ever read it, I don't know if you tried catching up through reading or watching, and I don't even think it's like a must-read or must-watch by any means today or whatever. But if you tried to get back into it at any point, I would recommend just trying to read it, because the early Dragon Ball is actually, it's like really One Piece-esque. It's very light, it's fun, it's adventure, it's exploring a cool world. It's later on when it becomes like a lot of it's when the space stuff starts coming in that it becomes a whole different beast. And, that's the part of it that I love more. But I think in retrospect, I think it's the first part of it that holds up better, because it's lighter, it's more, it has a more timeless air to it, I think, that I don't think that the second half does, personally.
It's magical is what it is. I love Dragon Ball.
Nice. Let's move on to the next question. I like this one. How come GrandLineReview never interact with any other popular YouTubers like Tekken Joyboy and Brago? Thanks for leaving us out of there.
Yeah. What do you call it? Yeah, with any popular YouTubers. It's like, all right.
I was going to say, with that question in mind, I guess that's still true, even with this podcast. So,
Oh, thanks. If you stack up our subs, we...
Point taken.
Never mind. A lot of our subs overlap. Actually, GrandLineReview, if you have Ohara on Twitter, you can check out the questions too if you want to pick one. Like, usually we just alternate picking questions.
Okay, let me do that. To answer this question, though, it's because I'm an incredibly antisocial person, so I'm not the kind of person who will ever reach out to someone, because that's just not what I would do. And I don't know, I just keep to myself, and it's worked.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. I think I wouldn't have thought to... I was contacted by Brago No, I reached out to Brago because I wanted to be in the Reverie. Never mind, why am I acting like Brago reached out to me? I reached out to Brago because I wanted to be in the Reverie, and then Brago was like, yeah, sure, but come onto my channel first, I think, to vet me and make sure that I wasn't some insane person or something like that. So yeah, never mind. Yeah, like Sora 7 Mage stays totally separate.
Did that work in your favor?
I forget that there's like a whole world of like really big YouTubers who don't get as into like getting on each other's streams and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. And I mean, there's also a bunch of, like in general, this is something I keep finding out about by chance, but there's like the anime manga community in general, like outside of One Piece just, is like surprisingly big. There's a bunch of really big YouTubers out there that I was literally not aware about. So someone I recently came across was Mother's Basement. I'm not sure if you guys know him.
I only know him because I think he's getting into One Piece recently, and I saw some tweets or like a video or something like that.
Well, he got like I think he like recently cracked like 1 million subscribers. I was not aware of that channel at all, but yeah, it's just interesting, discovering new people and like seeing how big the community actually is. It's really interesting. Also, I'm just gonna like to close this question, I'm just gonna say we now get exclusive rights to Liam. So if anyone else is trying, to get into contact,
you got to go through my managers now.
Exactly. You got to go through us first now. No, yeah, but yeah, as I said, like it's a pleasure having you on 100%. Like you were definitely not a YouTuber I was unaware of. Like no question. I think most people have stumbled across. your channel at some point.
To be honest, I've
compared to
heard of
Mother's
you through
Basement, I
Reddit
don't
mostly.
think
I don't
so,
know
but
if you
yeah.
use the One Piece Reddit much, but when people are like, who are some great One Piece YouTubers and stuff, I have seen you mentioned multiple times, basically.
Oh, that's an honor. I'm not really a big Redditor, so that's kind of nice to know. Thanks, guys.
I once was. Then I got the YouTube channel going, and then I just didn't feel like going to the One Piece Reddit as much to talk about stuff. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. When you start investing a lot of time into talking about One Piece on YouTube, all of a sudden you find that, oh, maybe I don't want to spend my spare time doing that elsewhere.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And like, it's kind of like whatever thoughts you have on the series, you can get out on a bigger platform. At least, like, there's no need. I just don't feel like going and interacting with people on a forum basically as much, because it's like, if I agree with something or disagree with something, I can share my thoughts. My thoughts are out there for anybody who wants to see it. And that's it.
Yeah, and you can reply to the comments on a very specific inquiry that you've made. It's great.
Yeah. And I mean, the same goes, I feel, it's not only for Reddit, it goes for YouTube in general as well. Like, I definitely consumed One Piece content, from other One Piece YouTubers before I started myself. That really came to almost a complete halt once I started, making content myself, just because, as you said, in your free time, you already talk about the series so much, you kind of, want to get your mind a bit, in another corner of life and, think about other things. So I don't know if that's the same for you guys. But
that's actually why I had to start a second channel, because at one stage I was just like, I really want to keep doing this, but I can't just talk about One Piece all the time.
That definitely makes sense.
What is your second channel, by the way, actually?
My second channel is called New World Review, and it mainly focuses on talking about Hunter x Hunter, but also some Berserk and some JoJo stuff.
Dude, wait, how? Okay, I'll ask you some questions after this, basically, because those are actually pretty much those three series, honestly, plus Vinland Saga, I'd say recently, those are all series that I want to talk about more, but I feel like it's very difficult to do on a One Piece specific channel without like making a second channel. So I might just ask you a couple questions after this on how you got that started and how it's going, basically.
Yeah, go for it. I'd love to chat about it.
Next question.
So we got to come up with a new. We can start a second podcast.
Well, I mean, we got the channel now, so we can do more.
The Dark Continent podcast.
Dude, I don't know. I've been wanting to like. I want to keep my main channel specifically One Piece related. I think I'd feel weird if I was just adding in bits and pieces of other stuff, but not really committing to it. But I'd love to have like a second side channel where I can get my thoughts out on other series, because all One Piece.
My
all
advice
the
to you is definitely keep the One Piece channel One Piece. Like, YouTube is very friendly towards niches, and it's kind of a struggle that I'm having with my second channel because I do talk about multiple things, so it's a lot more volatile.
I think there is a good amount of overlap, at least among the series that you mentioned. So I know that a lot of Berserk fans are going to like Hunter x Hunter and vice versa.
Yes.
JoJo's fans, in my experience, I think there's a lot of overlap with One Piece, at least from my anecdotal experience of streaming. And I know that whenever I mention JoJo's, there's a lot of people who have seen it as well. So I don't know. I think finding that right not pie chart, you know what I mean? Venn diagram probably helps it a lot.
Yeah. Definitely. It seems to be going more to the way of seinen at the moment, because that's the kind of audience that was cultivated. So if I do talk about something like My Hero Academia, all of a sudden there's a lot of dislikes, or Demon Slayer, or, more shonen-y stuff.
Let me find another question.
You want to pick a question?
Or Ohara, you got a question?
No, you can go for it.
Let me see. Oh, this one's kind of fun. So, an evolving degenerate said, character preference. So he listed 5 this or that characters, basically. So just like a quick list rundown of which character you prefer between these two. Alright, so 1, Shirahoshi or Rebecca?
Shirahoshi. Not even difficult.
Yeah, I'd go with Shirahoshi as well.
I don't really like either, but I'd give it to Shirahoshi.
Yeah, that was my
Yeah.
I mean, when in doubt, go with the ancient weapon.
I see why he matched them up against each other. Treble or Diamante?
Oh.
I don't really like either. These are just a bunch of characters people don't like, actually.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess Treble, because he has a bit more of a character.
Oh, dude, but
that's what
he
I
was
thought.
irritating. Yeah.
He was outstandingly weird. Like Diamante was just
that's true.
uncomfortable.
I won't forget Treble. That's for sure. I'll give it to Treble, I guess, but it's not really preference. It's more like, I don't know, it's something. Lola or Chiffon?
Chiffon, because of baby Pez, and Pez is adorable.
I'd say Lola. I like Lola.
Deciding vote, Morj.
I think I'd give it to Lola too. I think she had just a couple stronger moments in Thriller Bark. Nothing crazy, but I do remember her standing in the sun when the sun's coming up with the Straw Hat Crew. I thought that was a good moment. I think I like that a little better than anything Chiffon's done, but I don't know. I don't really care for either character. I like Capone Beige. Capone Beige is actually maybe my, outside of the Straw Hats, my favorite Supernova. No, Kid. I'd put Capone Beige second. I liked him a lot in Whole Cake.
Wow.
Monet or Smoothie?
Wait, people hate those characters?
I think people probably like Monet or Smoothie better than the others on the list. I don't know for sure if he picked a bunch of characters people don't like, but I'm just looking at the list and we haven't liked any so far. So that was my view.
Well, that all changes now. I like both of them. I like Monet better because she has more of a complete character arc at the moment.
Yeah. I would definitely subscribe to that. I also would say Monet just because we got a lot more characterizations for her. But then I believe, with Smoothie being in Wano right now and her not really playing a role in Whole Cake Island, I still feel we're going to get her, like more of her in some way or form. So yeah, I'd give it to Monet as well, but open for Smoothie to prove me wrong.
I am basically with you there. Yeah, Monet was she was a very interesting character, honestly, during Punk Hazard. I think a lot of us thought that there was going to be something more come out of it with her, but she was a cool character in Punk Hazard. And yeah, Smoothie, I guess she's got probably plenty of time to make up for that. Lastly, Flampe or Sugar?
Oh, Sugar.
This is why I'm looking at the list. I'm like, these might be characters people just don't like. Monet or Smoothie
That's an
are probably
easy
the
Sugar,
exceptions.
You going with Sugar, Liam?
Easy Sugar.
Why? How so?
Because she's actually kind of cool and not just a perpetual pain in the ass. Like, I enjoy her power, I enjoy how she gets upset, I enjoy her comic nature with Usopp. Whereas I think about Flampe and I'm just like, she's a big bubblegum bubble who shot a dart into Luffy that one time.
And I mean, it's easy to forget, but Sugar is actually a grown woman, right? So
yeah, she is. I mean, not grown, but
yeah,
mentally
well,
matured.
she's a woman.
Yes.
At heart. Like Kiku.
Yeah.
But different.
Yeah. With that insane devil fruit that just gives you perpetual youth as a side effect, yeah.
That's worse, 100%. What about you, Morj?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like either, I guess, but yeah, Flampe kind of just sucked, right? There was nothing that would make you... She wasn't funny. She wasn't...
Well, I think she didn't suck as a character, but, like, she sucked as a person.
Okay,
hard.
She did.
I don't know. I
as a
think
character,
she just sucked. Yeah, maybe she didn't suck she did what she needed to do as a character, which was like really annoy me. So yeah, she did what she needed to do as a character. Yeah, but Sugar, just because my feelings towards Sugar are neutral and Flampe was annoying, so yeah.
Nice.
I like that kind of. Hold on, I'll make a quick note for people who just listened to the Wano Report. I like this guy's question, having us pick a few character this or that's. Those type of questions are fun to me. So drop something like that for next question hour or something, and maybe it gets picked. Yeah, there's a roundabout way of saying that, but yeah.
Yeah. Next
By the
time,
way,
it's all would you rathers.
Oh, yeah. This is like a random side note, but I'm just seeing on my Twitter that One Piece is trending in Germany for some reason.
Oh, congrats, okay. Ohara, you did it.
Yeah, thank you. So apparently, okay, I'm not sure if you heard about this, so I'm just reading this. Apparently, the first episode of the live action leaked.
I heard that because I'm subscribed
to,
or I'm following a big YouTube account called Kumi, and he actually has been posting some of the supposed script leaks and stuff like that. So I read some of them, some of the posted pages, and it actually looks really good. Like really interesting take on a lot of scenes.
I may or may not have read the entire thing this afternoon.
Is it legit?
It
like
gives
it feels
me hope.
legit?
I don't know. I'm not a good enough judge of television production to say, but if it's not, then a fan has done a very good job.
It's hard to fake something like that, right? Because then you would be putting in time to put in 58 pages or something like that of just like.
I mean, yeah, it's an entire hour of television, and it's all kind of really well thought out for the format. But the internet would not surprise me if such a thing did happen.
Well, without spoiling too much, because I actually haven't read it. I'm actually not planning to, and also for people who don't want to be spoiled. But in general, like from what you guys saw, did you feel it was promising?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the scenes that I saw this writer give their take on, I thought was I think a really great way to spice up the opening arc for sure. Like if this is the opening of the series, obviously, right? And I think most people can agree that One Piece early on, like I look back on it now with nostalgia and I really like One Piece early on, but I think most people can agree that One Piece early on is not nearly it's not nearly representative of what it becomes. It's a lot simpler. The storytelling's a lot more straightforward. I think this was, I won't try and spoil anything, but I do think this was an attempt to actually like make the beginning of One Piece more interesting and more well connected with what happens later on in the story, I guess.
Yes.
And Liam, you read the whole thing, so you probably have a much better opinion of like how do you think of this pilot's looking?
Really good, like you said. They're definitely taking advantage of the greater context of the One Piece world, and like without spoiling anything, there are a lot of characters who you would not expect to make actual flesh and blood appearances in episode 1 of this, which was something that I'd never thought about, but a lot of it actually does really work, and kind of at the point where I might be disappointed if this isn't the real thing.
It's like a polished rewrite of like I bet if Oda could go back and add certain things or like it fits.
Well, he says he's advising them, right? Like he's in there in the production somehow.
Yeah,
as far as I know.
Oh yeah. I think he is heavily attached. He's said in past interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah. So maybe that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, I mean, and at least the things that I know of that Liam might be referencing, like when he's saying that characters are going to be there that weren't previously, it's also characters that are supposed to be there, if that makes sense, or like makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not throwing in like out of left field, like, oh, Crocodile talks to Luffy in chapter 1 or like episode 1 or something like that. It's all stuff that
okay, but it's something like okay, like you don't have to tell me if this is correct, but like I'm just gonna assume it's something like starting with Luffy's childhood with Sabo and Ace and stuff like that. So
not from the leaks that I read. That's not what I mean.
Oh, okay.
I could give you one example I don't think is a big spoiler, but no, I'll leave it.
I mean, there's one good example that actually happened in a filler episode of the anime, which I really liked, that they chucked into the script. It's a really strange thing.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's like the very first thing. Like the very first named character in the script. But
wow.
I don't know if you know the order of it, but it's not a character you'd expect, but it makes a lot of sense.
All right, we'll
shit. Okay, I already see myself reading this. I wonder how it's recently become kind of a trend, not only in Hollywood but like with production companies in general, to purposefully leak scripts to build hype.
Yeah, that's what they did with Star Wars Episode 9, I believe, with the whole story about he left a script in his hotel room. Whoops. Yeah, like that ever happens.
No, so I wonder like this. If they didn't put that out on purpose, but
I mean that's frustrating if that's the case. But like, I could see it working because it's working right now. Like if they're confident they have a good script, I think I would have watched the first episode of the live action no matter what. But this makes me look forward to it more and kind of like go into it with a more positive mentality, I guess, than I would already have had. Like, I'm generally very tentative about this whole live action thing. Like, I don't know. Prior to getting the script leaks and stuff, I kind of assumed that it probably won't be great, but ideally it is, just because it'll get more people into the series. But now I think it could be like a legitimately really great TV series. I don't know.
It has potential, but there's a lot to be realized. Like, we have a bit of a saying in theater, like, the show gets made 3 times. Once when you write it, once when you rehearse it, and once when you get into the theater. So this is a good-looking first incarnation of it, but there's a lot to be built.
I mean, I personally, I view it from that point that when this thing was first announced, I went into this with very low expectations in general. I was like, as long as they don't completely slaughter everything, I don't particularly mind, because I saw it. Like, I never, for the longest time, I never approached it as something I was looking forward to, because I was rather looking at it like, oh, this might be a great chance, to maybe draw an even bigger audience into YouTube later on in the story, and, get people excited for the series in general. But, like, now, like, as time went on and I heard that the budget was, actually legit, like, in the 100 million, something like that, if I remember correctly, or 90 million. And then, with the script leaking now, like, I kind of have to be careful, because I'm kind of getting excited, I feel.
Be very, very careful.
But yeah. No, I mean, I'm very willing to let myself be positively surprised by this.
Definitely. It's the first truly positive development I think we've had since announcing Oda's actual involvement. That always gave me a lot of... it gave my thinking of it a solid backbone, but if this is real, then I think we're onto something.
Do you guys want to do, just to wrap this, I guess, basically, do you guys want to do one more question, and then I think we're good?
Yeah, can I ask this one, because I'm not sure who it's directed at?
Yes, please.
When will you re-upload your old chapter reviews? Which one of you is that directed at, or is it me?
This is definitely directed towards me, I would say. Because so I don't know about you, and this is actually something I'm working on at the moment. Like, I'm trying to get my chapter reviews more usable in general, because for me, most of the chapter reviews I did, they do amazing on the first day the chapter drops, they do fairly decent on the next day, and then they kind of like start dying off, and like after a week they're basically dead. And this goes especially for older chapter reviews. So at some point I decided to declutter my channel, especially on my video page. I felt like they were taking up so much space, so I just literally put them all on private up until the last 5 or something. That was basically the only intention, and I did, like, I'm sorry if you still wanted to watch them, but they were literally getting like 10 views in 48 hours, and I was like, okay, like this.
Just think of those 10 people that you've upset now.
Yeah, well, someone enough came and commented, so.
But yeah, that is basically the whole reason behind it. I feel like they were taking up a lot of space on my channel page, and I don't know, I just wanted to declutter that a little bit.
Fair enough. The problem with chapter reviews is that
it's kind of a tall order, but with the Wano Reports too, I mean, it's up to you basically. Like, if you think it helps your channel, then like taking those off and putting it on here could work. I could do that for the Wano Reports on my channel as well, now that it's a new channel. But if it is still getting views, then keep it there or whatever. But yeah, something to think
about,
I guess.
Here's the thing. Those 10 views, I feel like
are
better than 0 views. And if you've got like 50 chapters generating 10 views each in 48 hours, then, that's like a solid little thing happening.
Yeah, but the other thing, the thing that I've heard, I think from Roger's Space basically, is that a lot is affected by your average view count, kind of. So if your channel is averaging high views and then you have certain videos coming in that drop that average view count, then that does negatively affect your overall.
It's true, but it's only particularly relevant within like the first 48 hours. So you pop the chapter review out, it gets hopefully average, if not better views. And then that's the metric YouTube uses to continue. Like, it's not about long-term views.
That is actually really interesting because the feeling I had gotten. So I talked about this a bit to you guys before, and yeah, I don't know if I mean, it doesn't really matter if we talk about it on the podcast. People might be interested in it. But after the last 6 months, I didn't really do any major videos like the one like my analysis videos and so on and so forth that I actually am centered around and want to focus on. I mostly did like the podcast and the weekly chapter reviews, and I got the feeling now that I try to do YouTube more full time and like invest more into my big videos again and, do this on a regular basis. I had the feeling that YouTube now thinks every video I upload basically like recommendations stop after 2 days. And I feel like it kind of got used to my videos performing this way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely would have. And like the lack of consistency definitely wouldn't have helped either.
Yeah.
Like,
no, 100%.
YouTube rewards consistency more than it does an average view count.
That is a very fair point. I mean, yeah, I did keep up the chapter reviews. I mean, obviously because I wanted to, but also for consistency. But I feel in that regard, it might have hurt the channel more than it helped, I guess.
Yeah, but I guess if you stopped your analysis stuff, then it's a different segment of audience that watch that to the chapter reviews and not necessarily the same people.
So yeah, I guess that is part of the reason why I took them down, just because I felt, I mean, I don't know if that probably in retrospect doesn't really interest YouTube too much, how old videos do, but yeah, it was that factor and also decluttering the channel. So I'm really sorry if you were interested in that. I guess if you really want access to them, I can unlist them and, send out links individually to people. And who want to watch them.
If you're really desperate for old chapter reviews, then head over to youtube.com/GrandLineReview because I have a fuck ton of them.
Yes.
And they ain't going nowhere because I love clutter.
There you go. So couple of options. But yeah. Anything. So I guess we can slowly move this towards closing. We've been talking for a good amount of time, I feel. Over an hour, definitely. Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for coming on, Liam. It was like a real pleasure.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was great fun. You two are nice and chill. I like it.
And yeah, I think I can definitely speak for the two of us if I say you're welcome back here at any time. So I really hope we can, repeat this at some point.
Yeah, definitely. If we can work out this global time zone thing, I'd be thrilled to come on again.
That is the only issue. Got to make sure no one's asleep.
Yeah.
Maybe we can take turns waking up early.
But you made it, Morj, through the entire podcast.
I made it. I'm surprised. I made it through the whole thing. I woke up on time. I woke up on the time that I thought we were going to do it last time. I'm very impressed with myself. I just want to give myself a shout out for that overall.
Big shout
out overall for being awake at the insane hour of 8 a.m. Yes. But yeah, Liam, like, we really enjoyed having you on for sure. I think would not mind at all doing this again, even if I had to wake up a little early, basically. Like, we'll just let you know. You're basically free to come on anytime.
Your sacrifice is appreciated. Thank you, sir. I would love to.
Yeah. Big pleasure. Otherwise, as always, make sure you can find this podcast also on Spotify, on iTunes, podcast, wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. Make sure to show the new channel a bit support. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe. This will be the big platform for our podcast and other whatever reviews we're going to come up with in the future, non-One Piece related, whatever it might be. Otherwise, let's do the final round of plugs where people can find all of us. So we have Twitter. All the links are in the description below. Obviously, Liam's YouTube channel is also linked in the description below. Make sure to check that out. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
I think I'm good.
I think I'm pretty good as well. You kind of took care of it.
Good. Perfect. Otherwise, like one more quick reminder, self-plug for my Discord channel, and I also revived or set up my Patreon. If you were interested in that, you can find that on my channel. And otherwise, it was a pleasure having you on, Liam. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. And we hear all of you guys hopefully next week. Stay safe.